Suppose now this demonstration is regarding pulpotomy, and today we are going to learn about MTA pulpotomy, mineral trioxide aggregate pulpotomy, because this is considered as gold standard for pulpotomy treatment in primary teeth. Okay, and we assume that this case has an caries that is involving pulp. Okay, so in these type of cases we will not go for direct pulp capping. Either there is iatrogenic exposure or the traumatic exposure. In both the cases we will then proceed with pulpotomy, and in this video we are going to learn about the MTA pulpotomy. Okay, so first thing that we should consider is you can begin with a round burr, basically diamond point, or even you can use slow speed carbide burrs for removing the caries and gaining access into the pulp chamber. So to achieve this we will just begin with the removal of the restorations that we had done, and we will just consider it preparing the excess cavity so that we are into the pulp chamber. So let us begin now. We will create a central dip. You can slowly see if there is any drop felt, because you will suddenly feel a drop if you are into the pulp chamber, roof of the pulp chamber. So just go slowly remove the caries or the restorations that you had done. Slowly make the chamber a little wide. Slowly now you can again see it. Just try to explore it if there is any drop that you might feel. So this is basically the roof of the pulp chamber, that darker area. Once you puncture it, you will be into the pulp chamber. So see, you just punctured it and it is now the roof of the pulp chamber. So this is the exposure. While removing the caries, we suddenly expose the pulp, and if this is the condition, then there is an option of direct pulp capping, but we don't prefer that in primary tooth because of lower success rate. Okay, so in permanent tooth, if this type of thing happens, that removing caries, then we need to proceed with direct pulp capping. Okay, so here we have exposed the pulp. Now we will just remove the roof of this pulp chamber again with this round burr, slowly, not going deep. The pulp tissue may start appearing, so don't worry, this is the coronal pulp tissue that you have to remove it. What is the other best alternative is that you can now switch on to the best thing is the endo Z bar. Okay, so you can just start using the endo Z bar, endo Z bar that we have as an option, and that will help you out. So I am just switching on to that. In these type of cases it is very helpful that once you are using the endo Z bar, you can just begin it at the sides, these walls, so that you can just enlarge your pulp chamber. You can easily visualize it. Okay, so we will just use the endo Z bar. So this is the endo Z bar that we are just going to use it. It has a round tip and we can just enlarge the pulp chamber. But we say we can enlarge the pulp excess cavity, not the pulp chamber. So you don't have to worry about the perforations because you are now safely into the roof. The idea behind this is that we are just removing the coronal pulp that is assumed to be infected. That is the only point over here. And our cavity should be visibly wide. We are just going very slowly so that we don't harm the radicular pulp. In any case, we are not into the orifices of the root canal. So once this is done, what we can now do is we can just use a cotton. This will be just a small sterile cotton can be used just to condense it, and now we can simply use spoon excavator. We are just going to use the spoon excavator. To remove the pulp tissue. As much as we can remove. So this seems to be little hard as this is just a simulated tooth. So in real tooth it will just easily come out, so we can use the burr over here to remove it. Now once you have just tried to remove it, and now what you can do is just use a sterile cotton and dip it in saline or soak it in saline and place it into the pulp chamber for a little while, like 3 to 5 minutes, to achieve hemostasis, that there is no bleeding, there is no further bleeding over here. Okay, once you have achieved that there is no hemostasis, then you can begin with MTA. So over here we are just going to use mineral dioxide aggregate, and this mineral dioxide aggregate is from Mark Dental, so you can use this one also. Okay, so how to mix it, we will just let us see how we are going to mix this. Okay, so we will take just a clean glass slab. So over here we have taken this clean glass slab, if you can see this. We have taken this clean glass slab. Okay, so over here what we will do is we will just place this MTA powder and how much MTA powder we need is just a scoop. So we need a scoop, we will take a scoop of this MTA powder. Okay, so we have taken just 1.5 scoop, and we will use a drop of MTA liquid. 1. Okay, so this much is sufficient. Now we will use the spatula, this clean spatula, and we will divide this into 3 increments, 1, 2. Okay, so we will just first mix this increment to have a putty like consistency. So slowly you will see that there is a putty like consistency that is being formed. So when we see it, this should be the basic consistency that is moldable. So when we see to it, see, this is the consistency that we want, which is moldable, that we can roll it in any condition. Okay, so this is what we will be using it in our restoration part. Okay, now we can just take it with the help of our instrument. You can prefer taking it with the help of a condenser. Just take it this much consistency and into the cavity. So we will just use this consistency. So this will be like 2 mm of increment that we are placing it. Again we can take a little bit more. Remove any excess if there is. Now what you can do is just have a simple cotton, and this cotton should be soaked in, we can say, water, or we can also use this MTA liquid and soak it in this liquid only itself. Okay, just soak it, condense that MTA. Now you can see that MTA is well condensed into the cavity. Okay, now what you can do is, after the condensation is achieved, now you can have a moist cotton again. So I am placing this moist cotton. Okay, this is moist. See this cotton, it is moist. Soak the excess water that is there in this moist cotton. Okay, and now place it into the cavity. Still there is a little more water, so we will just squeeze out the moisture that is there in this cotton. Let it be. Okay, so now the thing is that after placing cotton, you can just place a temporary restoration over it. So you can now place a temporary restoration over it, and not any GIC or anything, just temporary restoration can be placed. I will just condense it. Then you can use a slight cotton to condense it. Remove any excess that is there. So now what you have to do is call the patient after 48 hours. Okay, so what will happen is after 48 hours this will set, that is the MTA inside this cavity will set. You will remove this temporary restoration. Okay, we'll just show how after 48 hours, suppose we have been waiting, then we will remove it. After 48 hours we will remove it, and what we will see actually would be that the MTA underneath is set. So this would be set. This is the initial setting, but after final set this would be harder initial. So now what you can do is, after this you can just prefer any type of restoration that you want to do. Okay, so for example we want to do composite restoration, and for in that case we can just use the composite instruments so that we can proceed with the composite restorations. So just a minute doctor, I'm just looking for that thing. Okay, yes, I got it. So we are just using the applicator tips to apply the bonding agent. Over here we are using this again light curing self-etching one component system, that is it is self-etching, so we don't require any etching in this case. So this is after setting of the MTA, don't use before, that is you have to do after in the second setting. Okay, once you apply the bonding agent, okay, cure that bonding agent 20 to 30 seconds you can cure it. Okay, after curing for 20 to 30 seconds, now you can proceed with the restoration. Preferably now we are using a colored composite which is available in pediatric dentistry for pedo patients. So use the tip of this composite to settle the composite down, and once you see that it has settled, you can cure the initial part. Now the next layer or the next increment can be done over this, and let it flow, let it settle according to the anatomical aspects of the tooth. Whatever the cavity we had prepared, it will settle on its own. So this is the second increment. Cure it. "30 to 40 seconds cure is enough." And again a third increment may be needed. So the third increment is done, and you can check for whether the composite is set. Yes, it is set completely and within the contours. Okay. You can clean up the cavity, just add a little more of an increment on the aspect. As we had created a little more cavity over here, just add it over here and let it flow, let it settle. Here we go. Now the things are done. So yes, now we are done. So just clean up the things and your tooth is ready. So we will use cotton to clean up the things. So here we are done. So this was the demonstration of pulpotomy, MTA pulpotomy, which is done in 2 sittings. So after 48 hours we do this restorative part, and before that we did the MTA part. So this was all about this. If you have any queries, you can definitely ask me. Hope you understood well. Thanks.